afternoon for people from Mozambique, from Eastern Africa, Southern Africa, and good morning for the diaspora in the United States.
Oh, thank you very much. So it's good to have you on behalf of all sons and daughters of Africa who are across the United States and elsewhere around the world. We pass greetings to you and the great people of Mozambique. So as we welcome you, maybe we can start the conversation by you introducing yourself to the world. Who are you as a person, briefly, and then we can continue the conversation about what Anamola stands for.
Okay, first of all, thank you so much, Professor, for this opportunity to share our thoughts and our vision from Mozambique, Africa, and the world. My name is Venâncio Mondlane. I'm from Mozambique, 52 years old, and I am the president of Anamola Party. Is is a party that is founded very recently. We have only 5 months, and but now is most talked party in Mozambique, most popular, I can say most active, productive party. But I think that is very important to share with you something that is very important background. Before we founded the party, we have a horrifying episode in Mozambique. I was candidate for the presidential election 2024, and according with a parallel count of our operational team, we won the election. Even the international observers, they say the same, that our election in Mozambique was severe manipulated, and the regime of Frelimo that are in power in last 50 years, they rigged the votes. But after that, when my personal lawyer and my electoral representative, Elvino Diaz, he was gathering the evidence to submit the appeal to the Constitutional Council, that is the highest level to appeal in Mozambique. He was murdered with 25 bullets in his body. And the people react, and the protest spread all the country. But the regime, they use all the machinery of the state to assassinate people, and they murder something like 400 persons, more over 3,000 people serious injured, and we discover later all people that was thrown into mass graves. After that, even me, I suffered several forced to go into exile. Lastest 3 months, the protest continues, but in January 2025, with a greater risk, I decide to return to my country, and we funded our party, Anamola.
So good. So that's a good brief view of Anamola in general, and we'll get to the details of Anamola. So, and I think it's good to point that, and you can share that with our viewers, that you're not new in politics. You've been in politics for a long, long time. You are young and articulate, but you've been in politics for a very long time. Before you started the new party, you were part of the larger opposition party in Mozambique, and you disagreed with the government. So what does, if you could share quickly with our people so that they get to know you as a person, what really motivated you to get into politics yourself?
Yes, before I decide to to get into to be a politician, I was a very famous TV commentator in Mozambique. Maybe
Oh,
during almost 15 years, like a TV commentator. But
yeah.
what happened is, I felt that uh, only to have a theoric approach about the reality is not enough. And I
Yes.
felt inside me that I must do something more than that. And I see I can share with you that I belong some before my family is a family that I can say that is a family that have an heritage of Frelimo.
Hmm.
But what I saw is that I see that the Frelimo regime betrayed the values of the liberation. And I told myself that I must be part of the new era, the new page of our history. That's why is the reason that guide me to be
Yeah.
a politician.
Oh, that's good. So, as we understand it, those of us who are not in Mozambique but who love Mozambique and we follow from afar. So, Mozambique was founded years ago by, of course, one of the greatest sons of Africa, the late Samora Machel, for almost
Yes,
11 years. And then it was followed later by President Chisano, who was there, I think, almost 20 years, 20 plus. Then Almando, and then the former president. And now your country has a pretty young president. I think is 39 or 40 years old. President Chapo is a pretty young person. So clearly, those of us who watched Mozambique seem to have an understanding that Frelimo has led the country all along, all those years. And I think
50 years.
since you're born, it's been the only party that has led the country. So, with your party, why do you think that after 50 years, your party is going to change course for the people of Mozambique?
Yes, yeah, this is a good question. Do you know? I want to share with you that after the post-electoral crisis, with all this horrific episode that I told you before, now in Mozambique, underway what is called the inclusive national dialogue. But it's very important to say that before this dialogue, I wrote a letter while I was in exile. I wrote a letter to the former president with the 20 points of what I understood that is the key for the reconciliation and the new stage for the peace and stability of Mozambique. And they use my 20 this 20 point letter to form this idea of the national dialogue. But in spite of that, they exclude me and my party to be part of the technical commission that is leading this process. But in spite of that, we, like Anamola Party, we submit to this commission a package with the 6 pillars for reform the state of Mozambique. The reform of the states, reform of the system, the electoral system, reforms of the for the justice, and even the reform of the fiscal system of Mozambique. And this package have the how can I say the the most important ideas of Anamola. For
Okay.
example, in terms of justice, we defined that the system of justice, the magistrates, they must be elected with their peers, not with the political powers. This is
Okay.
to ensure that the justice system must be fully and truly autonomous from the executive. And we details a lot of items that we believe that can release the system of justice to be kidnapping by the executive. For example, one of the most important issue is the money, the budget. We defend that we must create all the conditions to a financial autonomous of the system of justice, and the magistrates must be elected with their peers. In the electoral system, we defend that we must abolish the current national commission election. But this commission is composed with the politician, and this is not good for to be the fair and free elections. We defend that we must abolish this and establish the independent electoral commission that will be composed with the magistrate. For example, other pillar that I can share with you is related with the corruption, the problem of the corruption in Mozambique. The problem of corruption in Mozambique, we identify the one of the reason is the partization of the states or the public services or civil services. We must the how can I say, the politicization, the no partization civil services. We must assure that all the cells from the parties must be removed from the public institutions. And yes, if we assure this, we
Mhm.
believe that we can have a really rule of law in Mozambique. That is the key to development, is the key to attract investors, this is the key to have peace and to have reconciliation in Mozambique.
So good. So let me push back there. So we acknowledge. So for 50 years, Frelimo has led the country, and in all fairness, there are reasons as to why Frelimo has led the country. They fought for independence. The first president, I think, is seen as the father of the nation, and since then, they're the people who've done that. Now, you are very popular amongst young people, particularly young people in the cities, the major towns across Mozambique, which is a huge, huge plus to you. But on the other hand, Frelimo has support in the villages across the country. You have very, very good ideas. Knowing that Frelimo has the power, has the money, has the name recognition across the country, and that your party is fairly new and is very popular, particularly in the cities, what is your party going to do to make sure that it's popular across the country? And what can you do so that you guys, as an opposition, can at the very least have one person who can challenge the status quo?
Okay, if I understood your question, but
Yeah.
I must tell you something, Professor.
Yes.
In the beginning, they
Yeah.
accuse us like the Facebook politicians, and they say that we have only followers in the cities, in the social media.
Hmm.
But in the last 2 weeks, they changed their minds because
Yes.
now, even in the village, even in the village, uh, we when we do our speech, when we do our works there, they can see we don't need to gathering people with the buses, with trains. No, this is spontaneously. The crowd is following us, even
Okay.
in cities and the countryside, wherever we go, and they know about this. That's why. Even now, we have got only 6 months after we funded the party, but now they are persecuting us because they know in the next election, if we assure free and fair election, Anamola won with over 70% of votes. They know about this. They know. That's why even during the flood, we had a very big flood recently. And
Yeah.
when Anamola reached the people to help people that are in need, the people celebrate with us. Even in the midst of the flood, in the water, the people celebrate singing with us. But when the Frelimo party reach that place, they are received with the stones. They know about this. The people don't. The Frelimo party now is a very unpopular institution in Mozambique. They know about this. That's why they are persecuting very seriously our party. Even now, I'm talking with you. This year, they assassinate four members, senior members of Fanamola. And even me now, for your information, that process that they accuse me for 5 crimes, now this accusation was now is moved to the Supreme Court, and probably I will be judged in the Supreme Court before the election. But all of this, they are trying to avoid me to go to the next election because they know that they don't have chance to win. They will lose. That's why they are using the judicial tools. They are using the police. They are using guns. They are using. They are kidnapping our people. They are assassinating our people because they know that now we are really a mass party in Mozambique. Before, Frelimo and Renamo was a popular mass party, but now the only mass party in Mozambique is Anamol. This is true, and they know about this.
Yes. So which is good. Actually, I don't think you should feel bad if your party is called the Facebook party. I think I don't see anything wrong with that. Because if you see what's happening across Africa, and we'll get there in a moment, a lot of young people across the continent are saying enough is enough, which I think stands for Anamalala Africa. I think you talk about that in a moment. If you go to Kenya, you see the young Gen Zs have gone to the streets, and what they need is a better country. Recently, last year, you saw what happened in Tanzania. The young people went
Yes,
to the street. What they want to hear about politics. They don't want to hear people coming with money. You go to Nigeria, you see, and all these countries in South Africa, you see the same. So many countries across Africa, young people are saying, enough is enough. Anamalala, right? And they're saying
yes,
we can use the power of technology, social media, whether it's TikTok, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Instagram, to bring change. I think for you and the party, that's a winning argument. So, what are you doing to keep the fire going so that the young people can really see the big picture? It's not just fighting the streets, but that they need a good country. What exactly are you as a party doing to make sure that the young people are engaged?
yes. In Mozambique, for example, um, yeah, I think that the future of the politics in Mozambique in the world will be linked with the technology. This is, I think, this is the future of the politics. For example, in Mozambique, we are the first party in our political history that introduced the membership technology that you can be member of the party virtually. You don't need to be physically in our delegation. You can only use your cell phone and be member of Anamola. This is the strategy to put, how can I say, to put these ideas and this aim in fire. And other things is now we have a new, due to the persecution in Mozambique. For example, when we went to gathering with the people, the police attack us, arrest us. Now we are using a new technology to make a speech to the people that is called Cinema Live. That I can sit in Maputo, but I can speak with the people 100 kilometers for me. And we are using Cinema Live. And this is a very big innovation in politics in Mozambique. It's the first time in Mozambique that a party use Cinema Live, use a platform to membership 100% virtually. This is some skills, some tools that we are using to engage the youth people in this project.
Okay, sounds good. So I was looking at. I mean, it's interesting to hear this. When you think about it, Mozambique has, quite frank, one of the youngest presidents in the world
Yeah,
at age 39. Isn't it?
but with very
Isn't it?
old ideas.
Is
He he is young.
at the,
There is two types of age. There is
okay.
a chronological age and
Yes.
there is ideological age.
Yes.
In terms of chronological, he is young, but in
Yes.
terms of idea, he is zero, completely zero.
Oh,
Maybe
that's
worse than the elders.
yes. It, and see that now becomes and then we can dive into another topic here. May I say those ones who are watching us now live on Facebook and YouTube, if you could, yes, we'll appreciate your engagement. If you want to have a question, please go ahead on our Facebook page and or YouTube, post that question, and once at the end of the show, we'll post some of those questions to our guest, His Excellency Venâncio Mondlane. So let's talk about like what happened in South Africa, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Instead of the people having hatred for each other, is it possible that the opposition party in Mozambique or opposition parties sit with the ruling party Frelimo and have a negotiated settlement where you say, hey, this at the point, this is where we disagree, maybe on rule of law, maybe on political engagement, maybe persecution, and all this is it possible that the opposition party can sit with the government, look at the differences, and agree on certain terms so that you guys can move the country forward? I think we've seen these examples in other countries. You've seen those in Kenya, you've seen those in Sudan, you've seen those elsewhere around the world. That happened. Is it possible that the parties can sit down and have an agreement?
Uh, yes, I think that is possible, but the our current reality in Mozambique is very different, and we did a lot of things to create the environment of reconciliation and the environment for this dialogue, this interactive dialogue with the government. But the response of the regime is very a repressive response. They are maintain the approach of marginalizing us and trying to eliminate us. But it's possible. All the we can say that we are able to do that, and that's why we wrote a proposal to the reforms, and we submit to the government this proposal. It means that we want to be involved in all the process of the reconciliation, of the reform of the state, but the regime have a big problem to accept the difference. That's why, if you allow me to share with you this, I think that
Sure.
last year, and I believe that was in July last
Yeah.
year, held um, a conference in Gauteng, South Africa, of the leaders of the liberation parties of the Southern Africa, SADC. In this meeting, the president of Mozambique, the current president of Mozambique, that is in power through the guns and tear gas, he, he defined that the problems of Africa now is related with imperialism, is related with the colonialism. Today, this doesn't make sense. Today, the problems of Africa now, we know that we had slavery, something like that, but now, after 50 years of independence, we must look to ourselves inside of our countries, our public policies, what we are doing with our own countries. For example, Mozambique. Mozambique, the serious imperialism is not the foreign forces. The imperialism is corruption in Mozambique. This is the big imperialism in Mozambique. Some people in Mozambique say the problem is the black colonialism in Mozambique. We are among the five biggest countries that are rich in terms of natural resources. It doesn't make sense. After 50 years, we are in the midst of the poorest country of the world. It doesn't make sense. And now we can see in Mozambique the, the regime that in the beginning had the notablest ideas to liberation, notable ideas of to develop the country, but now our country now are becoming a narco state. This is correct, narco state. Yeah, we have got a very serious problem with the terrorism. We have got very serious problems with corruption, with the drug traffic, a lot of things that are not related with imperialism. These they are using that theory only to avoid accountability, to avoid to assume the responsibility to become our country's poor.
So let's stick with that, and then we transition into regional politics and leadership, and then we can talk about diaspora issues. I think I do agree with you that for Mozambique is 50 years, but for other countries across the continent is an average of 65 years after independence. So for us to imagine as a continent that 50, 60 years after independence, we're still thinking about colonialism or neo-colonialism, quite frankly, is as sad as you can tell. It makes some of us even want to cry when we imagine about those. So let's stick with you and your thoughts as a person, your thoughts on behalf of Anamola, based on regional politics. What lessons have you learned from other countries across the continent that you as a party are using so that, yes, you want to change Mozambique for the better, but also you want to be part of an Africa where Africa stand again on its rightful place in history? Because we've seen these things elsewhere around the continent. Like I said, you've seen those things in Kenya. You've seen the same in Sudan. You've seen those in Uganda, just recently concluded elections in Uganda. You've seen those in Kenya. You've seen those in some countries in West Africa, where young people are saying, enough is enough. We don't need this. Not just young people, even the older generation are saying, no, we must once in a lifetime be on our own. What have you learned from across Africa that you as a person and you as a party are going to use so that you can change the country and the continent for the better?
Okay, that's a very serious question. I will, I will try with my English to answer. Okay, okay, okay. Do you know the our motto of Anamola? Our slogan is "This country is ours.
Yes,
Save Mozambique." And I
yes.
can say that this continent is ours and save Africa.
Hmm.
And what we need in Africa is we need to be united with the strong voice in the global context. This is the strategic aim. But to reach there, there is some steps. First of all, I said that I agree with the ideas of the founders of the Pan-Africanist ideas.
Yes.
Pan-Africanism ideas. For example, in 1900, the first conference held in London, promoted by Henry Williams. Then the ideas of Du Bois, for example, and even
William
Kwame
Defoe.
Nkrumah. You can notice that during one century, uh, our goals and our challenges are the same. There is some nuances, is real, but what they defend is Africa must be united, and they defend solidarity among African countries. And this remains the the challenge of the current times. It means that what we must do to do now, the problems to achieve the uh, to Africa to be united and the solidarity. First of all, we must restore these ideas in the midst of the youth people, because the liberation parties, like I said before, what the youth people feel is that that liberation parties, they betrayed the original values of the fight of
The continent. Of the
the
continent.
yeah, that's why first of all we must assure that we must have not masquerade democracy but the real democracy. We need fair and free election. This is the first step. And we must establish the rule of law in our countries. We must demolish the corruption. We must create the stabilization of our countries. We must create a real democracy, not a fake democracy. This is the first step. After this, we must uh, engage in the greater trade amongst the African countries. The trade amongst after the integration, a real integration in the African countries. We must engage in, and to coordinate public policies between African countries. And we must share even the infrastructure to connect different African countries. Then we must assure to have the how can I say the free um, is, how can I say, the free, it's not free movement, it's, people
Yeah,
and goods and services. How can I say in English?
yeah, that's good. That's good.
Okay, yes, we must assure that the goods, the service, the persons must move free, and we must remove the strongholds of taxes between the African countries. This, I think, this is the future of Africa. After
Yeah,
this, we can have a hope to restore the ideas of the founders, that is to become Africa united with the solidarity, strong, with one voice in the global contest. This is what I
that's
think
good.
about Africa.
That's good. So it's interesting that the continent of Africa, we have about 1.3 billion people. The United States has
Yes,
about 355 million people. India has 1.3 billion people. China now around that number. So in terms of population, the continent actually has far more people compared to other continents. In terms of natural resources, regardless of which country, the continent has far more resources than others. You may talk about countries like the DRC, countries like Nigeria. These countries are very rich in terms of natural resources, but we haven't. I'm glad that you mentioned two people, Mark Du Bois. So there are two schools of thought, Du Bois and Marcus Garvey. These were the first Africans who said we must refocus on Africa many years ago. And it's because of them that people like Namnadi Azikiwe, Kenyatta, Mandela of South Africa, and Kwame Nkrumah came up and said, Africa must unite. So, to your point,
yes,
what saddened me really deeply is that even after the founders of our continent had that rallying cry, let us unite as Africa. It pains me that all countries, in some way, are degenerating into subsections, into tribes, into clans, and then enriching themselves and even continuously killing our very own. It's so sad when you saw that. But again, you have to also understand that history, all of us have to play a role in a particular time in history. So we are on stage, you are on stage, it's our time. So it's not the times of Samora Machel, Nelson Mandela, Kwame Nkrumah, Nemnadi Azikiwe, Kenyatta of Kenya. It's the times of Venâncio Mondlane and other young African leaders. You are very popular amongst the young people of Mozambique. That is clear, and particularly in the cities. And as you watch across Africa, a lot of young people are saying, we don't care about the tribes, we don't care about clans, we don't want to go to these foreign countries, we want to develop our continent for the better of our continent. What message do you have to the young people across Africa?
yes. We have a huge battle because we are in two battlefields. The first battlefield is inside Africa, and the other battlefields is with because we are in competition with other continents, other countries, and you the festival. I believe that before we create ideas of development, of economic development, we must assure the ethical ideas, and we must assure the values of integrity. I told in my country that to end the corruption, to succeed fighting terrorism, fighting crime, fighting all of these such things, we must uh, be clear that the leader must be a clean man. If you allow me to use this word,
Yeah.
you must be clean in terms of
Mhm.
ethic, in terms of integrity. For me, this is the first stage. This is paramount because if you've got a good ideas for the economic development, tourism, infrastructures, but you are not, you don't have an integrity behavior, there you will not succeed. It means that the first stage now is to create a new page and to rebuild the values of the ethical values of the African people. After that, if you are sure that the new generation of leaders, they are clean, they have integrity, they're ethical, it is possible to have the second stage, that is to think about the strategy of economy, the strategy of political and economic integration, about trade, about other things. That's what I believe. First of
Oh,
all, we must. That's why I I wrote an article and that I said that in Africa we need a new baptize to begin a new journey for the second liberation of Africa. We need this liberation, the second and the fair and the genuine liberation of our minds and the liberation of our hearts. This is the challenge that we have in Africa.
and I'm hoping the young people are watching this, they will watch this. So to your point, here is interesting part, and this is very painful when you think about it. Here in the United States, it's very easy for us to move around the country, around the 50 states. Can easily drive all the way from Minneapolis all the way down to Fort Myers, down to New Mexico, to California without a station, right? If you go to Europe, you can take a train from downtown Paris to London in just 2 hours. You can drive in from Paris to Brussels within 1 hour and have lunch and come back. But it's so painful that in Africa, somebody in Rwanda cannot just cross to Burundi because it's a different country. Somebody in Lesotho or Swaziland can't move because it's a country. So, to your point, that lack of movement of good or people, goods, and services is part of why Africa is not moving forward. Unless there's that free exchange of goods and services and free movement of people, it's going to be practically impossible for us to work as a people. And the fact that we also continuously subscribe to the Western thinking, including the Americans, including our former colonies in Europe, then it simply means we don't have our way of thinking. And I think it's good for the younger people to say, enough is enough. We need to rethink about the continent. We need to attract investors. We need to do away with tribalism. We need to do away with all this political persecution so that we maintain a better Africa, just like our great grandfathers envisioned. So there are so many questions now. A lot of people are engaging, and we continue to ask you, be part of the conversation. Please post your questions. We'll post those questions to His Excellency here in a minute. So let me talk about the role of the diaspora community in the development or the socio-economic and political development of Africa. There are so many Africans, especially in America. There are so many Africans from pretty much every country across Africa. There are Mozambicans here. Our sister there, Betty, is here with us. A lot of Kenyans, a lot of Nigerians, Ghanaians, all across the continent. To the point you said earlier on, the founders of the continent, the likes of Nana Azikiwe, Kenyatta, Kwame Nkrumah, these are students who came to the Americans, studied, with all the beauty of the continent, they saw this beauty, but they said, yeah, these countries are good, America is good, Europe is good, but home is best. We need to go back to Africa. And that's how the likes of Marcus Garvey and Du Bois said is a back to African movement. So what would be your message to our brothers and sisters from the continent who are comfortable in the diaspora? What do you think they should do so that they can develop the continent, but more specifically, what can they do to help the people of Mozambique?
Okay, I think that before I answer your question, uh, I think one of the most important thing that the youth people need is to understand that a huge transformation of a nation, it can be economical transformation, social transformation, political transformation. It only can take place if the generation assume the high level of sacrifice. There is no transformation without sacrifice. Even in America, if you read the history of America 200 years ago, you can see that the generation of 200 years ago assumed to themselves all the risks, greater risks, and the huge sacrifice. Is what that we need in Africa. Even now, I was forced to be in exile during 3 months. I suffered more than 5 attempts against my life. And the people in Mozambique are clapping. Go forward. You are a hero. But do you know, normally when I have conversation with the students, with youth people, I say to, yes, I'm a human being. I have I have fear. I have my weakness like a human being. But if you call me a hero, it's because I I I assume a greater risk for my life, for my family, for my even to my yeah, my particular family, my daughters, my wife, my brothers, my parents. I assume that sacrifice. It means what I want to say. The people that are in diaspora, they must engage and they must help us to make the networks, because today you can succeed only be in the streets, make a demonstration, and have a big crowds. Look at the example of Uganda, for example. We must be very well connected inside Africa, but abroad as well. And the people of diaspora must help us to do something like this program, to engage in this new movement called Anamalala Africa. And that means enough is enough Africa. We must be united. We must strengthen the network around the world. If we do this, I think that we can succeed. Is on my the what I can say advise the people that are in diaspora. But on other side, we must assure that our countries must be. We must establish. We must create the stabilization of our country to create the real democracy, not the fake democracy, the rule of law, because if we are sure that Africa have the good condition to the investors, and we can be the most important destination of the investors all over the world. But we must assure that we must have judicial systems that are credible. We must assure that the investors are safe in our countries. We must fight the corruption, terrorism, all kinds of kleptocracy inside of our countries, and Africa can be great. And when I finish my speech in Mozambique, I say always that I believe that Mozambique in 10 years can be in the midst of the 50 most developed countries of the world. And I believe that Africa in the next 15 years, with good leaders with courage, leaders with integrity, we can be the most developed continent of the world in the next 50 years. It is possible if you are linked, if you are united, if you are have the unique voice and in the global contest. Yes.
So, professionally, I'm not allowed to do this, but I can't help but admire you, my friend. You're very articulate, right? You're very articulate. You speak so passionately, and I've always associated Mozambique with the.
I will speak better next time. I'm trying to improve
No,
my English.
no, you. I've
Sometimes
always known.
I block.
So all I've known about Mozambique most of the time is the late Samora Machel as a great son of the continent of Africa. And me talking to you privately and me talking to you right now, I can't help but again see a great son of Africa in the making. In the making, you are so passionate. You're great, and I think the people of Mozambique, just like the rest of the continent, should be very proud of you. We are so proud of you for being passionate, and of course, the love for the continent of Africa. So, before we take questions from our audience, let me ask you one last question. Then we move on. So, what do you say to people who want to come to Mozambique? Why should people come to visit Mozambique?
Okay. Mozambique is how can I say is like a paradise that are covered by a mantle of the authoritarianism. But it doesn't mean that I can't invite people to invest in Mozambique. But I think that is the best country now to investors because, first of all, we have um, countless natural resources, energy. We have got big reserves of gas. We have got rubies. I think that the biggest reserve of graphite, minerals, a lot of minerals. But we have as well um, a good conditions, natural conditions. For example, in the ocean, Indian Ocean, we have three big ports: ports of Nacala, ports of Beira, ports of Maputo, that are the only way to reach six countries that are they don't have access to the sea. Six countries. It means that we have got a very strategical position in the Indian Ocean to make business, big business. And the tourism, we have got a very big potential in tourism. We have almost 3,000 kilometers of coast with good weather and islands, beaches, and a lot of potentials to invest. And but the most important things is not the natural resources or what God gave us generously, but we've got people. Do you know? the average of the age of the Mozambican is 25 years old. It means
Yes,
that
yes.
we have got people that can be normally when we speak about the investors and trade, we speak about the natural resources. But I think that we must change the approach because we can make good business with innovation. We can make good business with education. We can make business in other areas because we have got people with very high potential to work. Yes, yeah. What I can
Yeah.
say is
Oh, that's
Mozambique
all.
have a greater potential to investors, great potential to tourism, great potential to a lot of things. And the people must believe that when I finish my speech in Mozambique, I say, in the last 10 years, Mozambique will be among the 50 most powerful countries of the world. It means that you must begin now to visit Mozambique because in the future we will be very far and maybe will be very difficult to reach us.
What I do know is that I will be there during your session as president. I for sure will come. So before we finish, Ben, let's take some questions. There are a couple of questions here, maybe one or two questions from the audience. What do we have here? Let's see our team if they can pose a question here. Do you have a question here, Ben? Okay. So meanwhile, as Ben does that, what? Okay, no, here's a question. Mr. President, why should the genuine leaders of Africa who hate corruption join the Anna Malala movement?
Wow. Yes,
And that is
this
from
is a great.
Professor Ndiangui. Yes, that's from Professor Peter Ndiangui. Peter Ndiangui is a good friend of ours. He's down in Fort Myers, Florida.
Yes. Okay. Anna Malala Africa movement. Um, the 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 central value of this movement is that enough is enough. We must to change the history of slavery. We must to change that comfort zone that the situation of Africa is due to the imperialism, colonialism, and that mentality of slavery, that mentality of misery. We want to be the subject of our own history. We must guide Africa with our ideas, with our point of view of what the kind of democracy, the public policies that we can create with our own minds. And we want to change the history of Africa. We want to create the environment to Africa be proud, Africans be proud of Africa. And, and the principle of this is we want to restore the ideas of the founders of Africa. And and I believe that the Professor Peter he shared some ideas about the fundamentals of the Anamalala Africa movement. But I think that is a good opportunity to have an environment to to share your ideas, but in an environment to to change the history of Africa, to begin a new page for Africa, a new journey for Africa, a new hope for Africa. That's why I think this is a good platform to genuine leaders of Africa that hate corruption to join with the Anamalala Africa movement.
So, good response. So, Oh, that's good. So then we can take the next question. There's Collins Omboro is asking, you've spoken about political crackdowns by the current government. How is your party engaging with the Mozambicans to ensure a fair and free speech in Mozambique?
A fair and free speech or fair and free election? Okay, but
So
okay.
it's
Yeah.
okay, yes. Yes, it's okay. You get the
Uh,
point, yes.
okay, okay. Okay. Now, because or maybe you want to talk about the freedom of speech. Maybe I don't know.
Pretty much, what he's saying, the question he's saying, you're talking about how the government is persecuting its people, including you. You went to exile. There are people being killed
Yes.
in the process. So the
Okay.
question is
Okay.
simply saying, what will you and your party do to make sure that the people of Mozambique have a fair
Okay.
playground and they're free to do whatever they
Okay.
think is
Okay.
good
Okay. Okay.
mentally?
Okay. You
Yes.
understand? Yes.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. 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 This is a good question. But what now? We have an how can I say an agreement with with international amnesty, and we are making research in Mozambique to give the details of all the people that was assassinated during the demonstration of post-electoral crisis. And after this research, can be used this information, these details, to send the information to the international court. And what we must assure is that all the people, all the persons that are committing crime in the name of state, using the garment of the state, they must be responsible for the crimes that they commit. This is the first stage. Second one, we create a digital platform to denounce all the violation of the human rights. And do you know, if you denounce the violation of the human rights, is a stage to avoid these crimes to go ahead. And other things that we are doing now is to make a lot of proposal to the parliament and to establish a legal framework that will assure a freedom of speech in Mozambique. If you allow me, I want to share with you that one of our strategical objectives that are paramount for Anamola is legislative initiatives, the proposals of laws. We are not in parliament, but can you believe in 6 months that we funded the party, we made 15, no, 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 yeah, 15 proposal to parliament, 15 proposal. It means that we are the biggest party in Mozambique in terms of the legislative initiative. Now, I was member of parliament in 2 mandates, but I resigned because I did I was some issue with my party, but I understand very well that our parliament are not productive. In 5 years of a mandate, a party can only make 3 or 4 proposals in 5 years. But Anamola, in 5 months, we make 15 proposals. It means that this is another tool to assure that in Mozambique we can create the environment to reinforce the freedom of speech and to reinforce the human rights of the people. Yes.
Okay, that's good. So that's a comment. Then, if you can bring the question about the IMF, so that comment that is from Lilosa Numelo Ono. I hope I pronounced that well, and is agreeing with the conversation, saying we as a continent must stop this business of blaming colonialism is long after, and that to your point, we and the next generation must change our thought process and instead focus on developing Africa. But more importantly, Ben, if you pose that question, so the next question is about the IMF. This question here: Do you think if Africa do you think Africa needs the IMF and other international monetary institutions? I hope your other colleagues again. We're talking about the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. And I think you can recall back in the early 90s, the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank dictated the kind of leadership that needed to be in Africa, including the movement from one-party system to multi-party democracy, which eventually led to different countries across the continent forming parties, and those parties predominantly were based on tribal linings. And because of that, it instead brought too much tribalism and clanism and persecutions across the continent. So, to Colin's question, in your view, do you think the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank and all those institutions should be part of the developing Africa, or should we change course?
I can say yes, but I can say no as well. uh, because it depends. It depends of the stage of our development. It depends because what happened to use the, how can I say, the words without clothes. These institutions have very clear objectives, and these objectives, I don't want to go deep now in this
Yes.
conversation,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
in other hands, we can win a game even in the field of our adversary. It is possible. Brazil, for example, don't have a debt now. The debt of Brazil now is zero. But it means that Brazil, they don't refuse the relationship with the IMF. But in the field, in the battlefield of IMF, the Brazil revert the situation, and now Brazil are free. This is one point of view. It is possible. Other point of view, today it's impossible to image a country without trade. It's impossible. Now, the trade is the key of the state. It means that to have a situation that we say that we don't need IMF, it means that Africa must create first of all an environment of greater trade among the African countries. If you achieve that stage, and we achieve the stage to create connected infrastructures between the African countries, and we remove the strongholds of taxes between African countries, if we assure the free movements of service persons between African countries, I think that we have the power enough to say to IMF no. But now it's very difficult. Now it's very difficult. It means that's why I said that I can say yes, but I can say no as well, because to say yes, there is stages that we must, there is a journey that we must cross that stage to reach that point. That's why my answer is yes, and in some way, oh no,
I think
yes,
it's a fair response when you think about the IMF, and I think over the last 30 years they do also acknowledge some of the failures earlier on when they're talking about the Washington consensus. Defining what leadership and democracy meant in Africa. The end is that it caused more harm than good. It was a result of democracy and then tribalism, clanism, coup d'etats, and all these things. So they do acknowledge that. But also, the other key point could be the African leaders, when they meet during these meetings, African Union and others, must begin in one voice. I think that's when people respect you and also
yes,
agitate for
yes,
policies within the IMF. If the IMF is going to
yes,
make decisions and policies based on their understanding, then obviously it is going to serve their interest. And most of the time, they're the interest of the West. It's not the interest of the African continent. So I think to your point, it's time for the young people and the African leaders to say, yes, we want your assistance, but based on our terms. These are
yes,
cultures, these are belief systems.
yes, yes,
You must deal with us based on this understanding. Otherwise, we don't need your money. We're okay with that way. So not just being a lapper stamp. Most of us to be in some of those institutions in the diaspora per se, we should be advocates for the African continent. So let's take the last question here, because I know it's running time. We should be heading to bed shortly. Let's take this last question from Fihi Namu. I hope I pronounce your name well. Namu, she's asking, many leaders campaign against corruption, but fail to act once in power. What specific safeguards will you implement to ensure your administration remains accountable and transparent?
yes. It's a good question. First of all, even in campaign, I make a promise, and that I can repeat here. When I'll be elected like president of Mozambique, first of all, I must resign like the leader of my party. This is the first point. You can't be, you can remain with the behavior of transparency if you, as a public leader, you divide your attention and responsibility with your the leadership of a party, of a particular party. This is the first point. Like a president of Mozambique, I resign like the president of my party. Second point, we must establish a digital platform to make clear and free access to all the assets of the executive, president, ministers, national directors, all the executive, the assets, the salaries, the benefits, all of it must be clear in the digital platform. And we must assure that the judiciary are full and real independent. And we must assure as well that the, the electoral system must be guided by the magistrate, not the politics. And to finish, all the business of the state, the contracts must, because we have in Mozambique a council, all the information in Mozambique are considered the the secret information. All the contracts with the government must be able, must be available to the people to see. For example, if I want to see the contract between the government of Mozambique with the companies that make exploitation of gas in Rovuma, for example. These contracts we cannot access these contracts. It means that all the business of the states must be open to the free access to the people. All the assets, all the benefits, all the salaries of the government must be accountable for the people, first the people, and to assure the free judiciary to monitor the activities of the government. Yes.
Good. It looks like there are lots of people engaging. What I'll ask is that those ones who are being part of the engagement, continue the engagement, post your questions. We'll compile all those comments and questions, and we'll send them to His Excellency after the show. But for now, if you could take the last question here, that means my boss is saying, you better have this question right now. So the question is for you. What is the GDP of Mozambique? Blah, blah, how you, what was the prior question? Is that the question? Okay. This you can look it up, really. No. Yeah, this question here. You check this one here, Venâncio. What should be the role of African Union in the new decolonization of the continent?
What should be the role of African Union in the new decolonization?
If any.
Okay. Yes. Unfortunately, the African Union, the current African Union, like the former president of Botswana said, the Honorable Suresh Kama, he told me in a private conversation that the African Union is useless. The current African Union now don't have power enough to and ideas, because it's not only the problems of power, it's the problem of the ideas, the project, and we don't know the ideas, the structured ideas to change that situation, because most of them, they are agents of the decolonizations. If to change it, we must change them first, because they are agents. Like in Mozambique, usually they trying to they criminalizing the opposition and say that the opposition have a cooperation with the West, something like that. But in reality, the biggest agents of the West and the biggest agents of the adversary of our country is our current government, is the ruling parties. They betrayed our countries, they betrayed our people, because they become all the things that we fight against before. This is the problem. And the current African Union must change. That's why the youth people now say enough is enough. We must change that kind of institution because useless, and we must establish the ideas of the Anamalala Africa movement that say that we must create, for example, the Africa Union to make the summits, they are always with the end asking for money in the West, and with the mentality of misery, mentality of misery, and we must end this. Okay, in short words. In short words,
Well, I think
yes.
that yeah, that's great. I think the key point is that, and that's what Professor is asking: what is the role of the African Union? Quite frankly, even the young people don't even know if African Union exists. It does exist, and other than probably meeting once in a year, what they do beyond that, a lot of people in the continent don't understand. Your point is, it means that it's time for us in Africa to say Anna Malala. For our viewers, Anna Malala means enough is enough.
Is
Whatever that
enough.
means to whatever that means to the respective countries across the continent, I think it's time we say enough is enough to political persecution, to corruption, to tribalism, to clanism, and all the bad stuff that stagnates our development. I think that's key to say. But it's also good to say that talking to you here, Your Excellency, there is great hope for not just Mozambique, but for the continent of Africa. If we continuously have people like you, this not just conversations, but also we take this into real action, I think there is a bright future for Africa. So before we finish this, if you could, and Benny, I want you to bring in Betty on screen. She needs to say a word of thanks to be president. So this is Patty, the communication of your team in the diaspora. There is no person that I know who has made the case for the people of Mozambique than this young lady here. In our private conversation, she has nothing but complete
I
love
agree. I
for.
agree.
Huh?
I agree.
Yes, I have met someone who is so passionate about our country and your vision. So, Patty, if you could, one last word to your to be president. Oh, Ben, she's muted.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, I was.
Unmute your micro. Okay.
Yes, I did. I just want to say thank you to our president and keep doing the good job. We Mozambicans, we are very proud of you, and we want you to continue to make us proud. And thank you, Jeremiah, for this interview. Benny, we are so thankful. Thank you.
You can tell from her voice how passionate and emotional she is. I don't want her to cry. She loves her country that much. So, Your Excellency, your closing
Well,
words.
is sorry.
Yeah, so yeah, you can say your closing statement. Say the last words for your people and the world.
Okay. Okay. Yes. First of all, I want to address my gratitude to the Anna Malala movement. Anna Malala Africa movement is a great movement, great idea to join different youth people from Africa. Now we are a very big movement, including people from diaspora, people from Rwanda, Kenya, Tanzania, South Africa, Liberia, and I believe that will be the new hope for the Africa to the next years, and I want to assure that the message is well understand that there is no way. The only way to change the situation of Africa is to unite all our strengths in one vision and to have one voice to be strong in the global context. And I believe that we must reinforce the ideas of the connectivity among the African countries. That connectivity I'm talking about not only the political connectivities that what is the African Union did, but the economic connectivity, financial connectivity, infrastructure connectivity, and maybe the most important connectivity surrounding the genuine values of the founders of Africa. This is my last words. A big hug, a kiss, and